So this is episode 4 on the Ferone show. My guest Zay. I'll let Zay introduce himself.
My name is Zay. I'm Marco's barber. That's how we met. We met in the shop, just talking, chopping it up about life and the things we do and how it relates to just how we can pretty much apply it to regular living. And then he invited me to the show. So I've only been here. It's gonna be my third year in Illinois. I moved from Florida. So I'm glad we met, brother.
Yeah, that was Geraldo put me on, and then I ended up meeting you at Skull and
Yeah.
Bones, and a couple years later, and now we're here.
And now I cut like a
So
bunch of your boys too. So it's like,
yeah,
yeah.
gotta put everybody on.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, one of the things I wanted to start off with is like, if there's like any particular, quote that kind of resonates with you. I know you got like a, long journey and everything that I want
Mm-hmm.
to dive into, but, just to kind of get the ball rolling and everything.
One of the quotes that this is kind of like a daily one because just thinking about this gets me going. It's like the way you do one thing is the way you do every other thing. So it's kind of like that's how I that's kind of like how I pick my friends when it comes to like let's say we're going on a journey. Let's say we're going to hike some mountains in Colorado, right? So before I would go, I would do like a test. We'll be like, all right, let's do a regular hike out here, and then like I said, the way you do one thing is the way you do any other thing. So if you have people that start complaining already, things like that, then you know, okay, this person might not be a good fit to go with me on these mountains for like a month, or like a week, like a hike or something like that. So that's the quote that I always take. It's like the way you do one thing is the way you do every other thing. So then that keeps me focused on everything I do. So then everything I do, kind of like it's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it sounds like it's also like consistency too. Like you're not gonna change the way you do things,
Yeah.
and you kind of keep it as a guideline to make sure everything fits within what you're trying to like achieve or
Hmm.
something like that. But okay, so when we were first like talking, you were talking a lot about baseball and like that's what you did growing up. Your
Yeah.
family, your dad,
Hmm.
in Puerto Rico, right?
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about like your experience, baseball growing up,
Baseball.
between in Florida, Puerto Rico. How did it shape your early years?
So, I mean, if you know Puerto Rico, it's pretty much baseball is kind of like the only thing we're good at. Like, they got some salsa singers and stuff like that, and some musicians and stuff like that. But as far as sports, Puerto Ricans were kind of short, so we're not that good at basketball. It's only like 10 out of like 100 that you probably see like in college basketball or something like that. But baseball, especially in the 90s, I was born in 1993, so growing up in the 90s in baseball, that was like everybody's dad was like, oh, if they had a son, that's what they wanted them to do, because our dads grew up playing baseball. So my dad though, he was kind of like, I don't want my son to like grow up here. So since I was the firstborn, the only boy, and I grew up playing baseball, he's like, how about when you go to high school, because they don't have after high school baseball over there, you're kind of like done with baseball. But here, you have continuation. You can go to college. So my dad was kind of like, let's move to Florida, and then he can pretty much set me up to have like a career with baseball. And then I ended up going to my second year of college, um, play with baseball scholarships and stuff like that. But
Where
then
did you go again?
it was in what my first year was in Western Nebraska Community College. So I went there because it was a wood bat league. So I'm like, man, if I have dreams to make it to the MLB or something, I gotta play with wood bat as soon as possible. So that league, that was like the first time I ever went far away from home, because Florida, it's like all the way at the corner of the map, and
And
then you
then
got
you're going
Nebraska
all the
all
way.
the way. I've
Yeah.
never seen snow, things like that. So, and I wasn't aware because I graduated high school at 17. I wasn't aware that that was my craft already taking me places. Because, growing up from 3 years old to now I'm 17, and now I'm like halfway across the map in the USA just because of something I'm good at, something that I
Yeah.
grew up playing. So, and then before that, before going to college, because it was one year in Western Nebraska, the second year was in Florida. It was called Johnson University. I didn't want to leave far. I wanted to stay in the sun
Yeah.
because
Forget the cold.
half the season in Nebraska got canceled because of snow and bad weather. So yeah, and then I grew up playing baseball in Florida, which that thing we talked about how I ended up playing with Manny Machado in high
Yeah.
school. So that was like a whole my perspective had just shifted, especially after playing with him. So
Did the whole like in terms of like perspective and like training and stuff like that because he's like a a
first
high,
rounder,
yeah, right,
yeah.
first rounder, so obviously the skill levels there. I'm sure like he was bringing a different leadership and mindset to
Oh
the team.
yeah,
How and even the coaches, did the coaches have as much influence as he did on the team?
yeah. Because I grew up in the okay. So you got South Florida, then you got Central Florida, then you got North Florida, which they have like a different time zone and everything. So I grew up in Orlando area. Then I go to high school for my senior year. That's when I go to Miami, and then Manny's there. So my whole life I've been like an all-star. I've been AAU, this and that, but that's nothing compared to a first rounder. Like I've been playing, I'm playing AAU and things like that, and I'm doing good. And the level of competition is crazy. But Manny had just came from Team USA, 18 and under. So I'm over here like, which this is kind of like a good thing because it lets you know like no matter how good you are, there's always somebody better. And that was my first time seeing that. So I played middle.
And you were how old again?
I
When?
was when I met Manny, I was 16 because I graduated in Puerto Rico. You start school early, so I graduated at 17. But when I started the year, I was 16
Okay.
that year of high school, my
So you
senior year.
spent like 10 like years of your
Oh
life just always
yeah,
being the best one, and then you.
from 3 years old, yeah, I was like, dude, I was winning like MVPs and All Stars in Puerto Rico and things like that. But then go to high school, especially the level of competition in America is way different than in Puerto Rico. It's like way different because kids in Florida, Cali, Georgia, any state, Texas that has sun all year round, these kids are going crazy. These kids are playing probably the whole weekend because when you're playing AU, you don't have a life. You're pretty much just your dad's just driving you around, taking you to all these places just to play ball. And then you see all the kids that you're pretty much going to be seeing in college and things like that. But then there's people like Manny, first rounders, like Bryce Harper, because he was in the same class uh, as Manny when they graduated. So yeah, playing with Manny, bro, you're seeing a kid hit home runs whenever he wants to. You're seeing a kid like I'm just enjoying the game, but this person's controlling the game. And
Wow.
that's a whole different thing. And then I shift that mindset into barbering nowadays, and that's if it wasn't for him, I would have never been going as hard, I swear. Like had I not played with that type of person, that caliber of a player, I would have
Yeah.
never learned how to level up myself.
So you went from baseball to then barbering,
Yeah.
and how did you, you know, make that transition? Because you were training to go to the MLB, and
Yeah.
then, the
Mm-hmm.
next thing you know, you're not doing that.
Yeah. So I was in the training, I was called the arc. The training arc was I did a whole year after I did the first year of college baseball. Then I was like, I don't really like college. I don't like sitting down for like 3, 4 hours. So there's another route. Um, bef for baseball, before you're 25 years old, in a way, you can sign as a free agent. So if you're a college player and you're doing good, then you can go to these tryouts. Like I did try, you could do tryouts for like teams in Australia, teams in like Mexico, things like that. Places that have teams that play people. You're not gonna get paid as much as MLB, obviously, but that's like if you want to continue the career. But barbering, I started when I was 12. So
Wow.
I wasn't.
So you were doing that and playing
I was
baseball?
doing that because my dad was so strict that he sacrificed everything in Puerto Rico. He's like, yo, we're not gonna have a life here. We're gonna go to we're gonna go to Florida, and then I want my son to have the best life possible because that's what dads do. They want to pretty
Yeah.
much advance their evolution because that's all kids are. We're just advanced versions of our dads and moms. So he's
Right.
so he's like, let me take you over there and make sure you're in the best place possible for you to grow and go to college and things like that. So their strategy was don't let him. I couldn't go out during the weekdays, and then I would train with my dad, and he would hit me 100 ground balls. And if I was at 99 and I missed it, I had to start over.
You're
So he's
kidding.
already beaten discipline into me. So it's like focus, discipline, and dude, 100 ground balls. It's not gonna be. He's not hitting them super hard. It's a workout, but after like 30 or 40, you're already like, huffing and puffing. And
Right.
then
Getting some
and
cardio
then
in.
after 70, he would always start going ham. Like, dude, he would start hitting either like slow ones forward. So everything. But then that shaped me to like just have that discipline to just, okay, if I want to get good at something, I have to repetition after
Yeah,
repetition. And
right.
then, yeah, so then that's pretty much those practices were like hell. But then barbering was always there because since I couldn't go out, and then I was in middle school, and then middle school that's when us guys we start like, oh wow, like I got a little crush or something,
Yeah.
like an innocent little crush. I was like, I gotta look good because I would get like probably like a haircut every 2 months,
Okay.
and I would get an easy haircut. It was like a four with a taper, so
So you like keep the long hair then,
I would keep. Yeah, it was like kind of how it is now.
with a
It's kind
little
of like
flow
this.
then.
Yeah, like a little flowy, but just all around. And I was like, back in the day, you know how it was. Back in the day, you kind of had to have like that military cut to look fresh. It was like the
Yeah.
2 or 4. And then, so then I told my mom, I was like, can you get me a clipper from Walmart? And then I like, she got me like a $30 clipper. And then I started with that at like 12 years old. And then my neighbors because I could only really go out in the summer. So in the summertime, I was like, if you guys let me cut your hair, I'll cut you for free for the rest of your life. Until this day, I still cut them for free. One of
Wow.
them's my brother-in-law. One of them's like his brother. So we're like family for life.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I started cutting their hair. And dude, I just no YouTube or nothing because I'm 12 years old. I'm 31 right now. So this is like it was like 19 years ago. So yeah,
So you've been cutting hair for
almost
19.
20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, cutting hair, and I was just figuring it out, dude. I didn't even know how to use the leveler. I didn't know how to like use the guards. It was just straight. I have to make it look good somehow, and that's where it started. So I would always be cutting on the side, but never like took it serious. Like now, how it's like that's just like my craft now.
So at what point did you like say, okay, like I'm gonna kind of put the baseball life aside and really focus on mastering your craft?
So it was when I was I finished my second year of college, and I didn't want to go back to college because of that thing I was telling you about that I was like I don't really like this whole like it's hard to be an athlete and a student, I swear, because if you want to be an athlete, you want to be the best athlete you can, but then in school you also have to be the best student you can.
Yeah.
So then really the only athletes that really like keep playing like all 4 years or it's because they have really good grades and things like that. But me, I didn't like that way. I was like I'm more of like an active person. I like to be on the field. If I do anything, that's why when I went to barber school, it was all technical. So, yeah, to answer your question, going back to you were saying about the
How did you like when you finally like
when I let
decided?
go, it was like when I let go, it was hard, dude. That was like a heartbreak. I would say that baseball, leaving baseball was like worse than like getting heartbroken by a girl. I swear, dude. I was so depressed for like I almost didn't leave the room for like a couple like it was like 3 weeks. I was just like down because I was like, wow, I'm really gonna leave something that I thought was what I was gonna do for the rest of my life. But then when I stopped playing college, this is where it gets crazy. Because when you stop playing college sports, the real world opens up, and then you start to realize, whoa, I had it so easy being an athlete. Like they're paying for all your trips, for your meals. You're getting all your uniform, everything's taken care of. But then when you go to the real world, now you got bills. So now I have to pay for my phone, if I have a car, all the things that you need to survive in the real world. So then I started getting these. I was still practicing like every day, to try to get tryouts with the independent ball teams. But then, and I was still cutting hair on the side, charging like probably like $10 because I wasn't taking it serious like that. And then working the worst job ever. No disrespect to whoever works at Staples, but I worked at Staples and that was the worst job I ever had. Dude, like it was empty all the time. I'd be just making rubber band balls in the front because I was like the cashier, and the lady would call and she would be like, "Hey, what are you doing? If you're not doing anything, you start cleaning." And I was like, "If this is what the real world is gonna be, like I'm just gonna be like this is hell." So one of my friends was like, "Hey, there's a barbershop I work at. Just come work here for the day." This is me like, oh, fresh out of barber school too, because I had just finished barber school. And then I worked there, bro. The first day was like the best day of my life. The first day I worked, because it was like a flow of clients. I cut like probably like 8 or 10 people. Dude, I made more than I ever did in my house. Because then the barbershop haircuts are more expensive. It was
Yeah,
like I was
right.
charging like $8 to $10 in my house. In the shop, you're charging like 15, $20 back in the day. So I was like, whoa, how can I stay here? Because I was like, dude, the day flew by, and I don't know where I have like $200 in my pocket, and I'm just like a young, well, like at the time, like 21-year-old, starting off in the
Yeah,
barbershop
right.
from cutting at home. I was like, big difference. So then the owner, that guy, like pretty much set the tone for how I am in the shop. You know how like I love talking to people. my approach is client first. The haircut's not even important because if you do it for long enough, the haircut's gonna come out good. But making friends and talking to people and just learning about them and them learning about you, that those connections, that guy taught me, the guy from the first shop. So he pretty much was like, "Oh, this is your first time in a shop?" He was like, "I'm not even gonna charge you rent. Just feel it out for yourself.
Really?
Let me know if you like it." Dude, I ended up loving that shop. Like I ended up working like 7 days a week right off the back, like because it was just like crazy. I left the job Staples. I told myself I was like I'm never gonna work like pretty much like a 9 to 5 a day of my life. I'm just gonna work off of my hands
Mm-hmm.
because barbering. When I started thinking about it, I was like, dude, this never left me. Like I started at 12, but I was like maybe baseball was just there to give me the discipline and the hard work ethic so I could channel into this. And then I started thinking, I was like, the same thing I did with baseball, it's the same thing I could do with barbering. But then since baseball is kind of like an athletic thing and it has an end to it, barbering kind of doesn't. Because as long as you're healthy and I can stand up, dude, I can cut. Baseball, you have way more risk. I could break my
Yeah.
wrist, I could break my legs. So once I learned that, I was like, wow, sports life was really hard, but this is easy. So, dude, it was like a blessing. And then I started going hard from like 21, 22 at a shop till now. So I'm 31, so I've been,
Solid 10-year grind
yeah,
then.
10-year grind.
Now, when you were in the barber shop, you also went to school too for hair?
Yeah, well, I was cutting from home when I was doing the barber school because I didn't know, you need like a license and stuff. So in Florida, here in Illinois, it's 1,500 hours, but in Florida, it's 1,200 hours.
Okay.
So it's a technical school, which I loved because I'm not sitting down learning theory all day. They're literally like,
Like you're doing it
you
like
got
actively.
tasks. Like they give you a whole folder and you got to do like five before your 1,200 hours are done. You got to do like 500 perms. You have to do like all these blow dries and styles. So it's like it's awesome because like it's kind of like a video game. It's like, okay, I'll get out of here when I'm done with all these tasks, and that's kind of like how I like to work. I like to be like, hey, go over there to your corner, like you got 10 tasks for the day. When you're done, you can leave.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of like how barbering is. I'll have like 10 clients or whatever I have for the day, and then each client is a job, and each job requires a different like technique. So yeah.
So that's kind of how you break it up, and,
Mm-hmm.
and, and, and it helps you get through the day too, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so, and you went to school for it, and then you were doing it for 10 years. And were you traveling around like to different barbershops, or like how did you, this next 10 years you end up, here in suburbs of Chicago?
So that's what I call the COVID blessing. Because the COVID blessing was when the whole shutdown happened. I was in Florida, and then I remember the owner of the shop got really sick. Where the shop I was working at was a studio, it was like five of us. He got really sick to the point where, like, dude, he was like ICU for a while. He was there,
Wow.
like, there was 30 people in the ICU. Everybody died except him, and he's still alive till this day. He'll tell a story, dude. This guy. So
Wow.
we thought we were gonna lose the owner of the shop. So we're over here like we don't know. I started doing house calls because the shop was locked down because he was in the hospital for all this time, dude. And that's when I started just doing house calls. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to all my clients. I'm not gonna charge them. I'm crazy because it's COVID time. So I was like, whoever wants to get haircuts, and then that's when I started using Instagram because I just made an Instagram like 2018. I never had it till then. So um, yeah, I started going to people were like hitting me up like, yo, man, come through. I'll cut. I was like, oh, I'll charge you like $50 to go to your house because it's gonna cover gas and the haircut, and it's COVID time, so I'm not gonna be charging like 100 or whatever. So I would go, and then sometimes people would like have groups of people at their house, so I was
Oh,
still
that's
making the
easier for
money,
you.
and then I would travel sometimes far as like 40 minutes just because it was fun, and then that's when I started falling in love with traveling and barbering because I read the barber book that the school gave me, and it said that the first barbers were traveling barbers. So barbershops didn't really exist. That's like all in the business era that started. Like keeping a barber in the same place for the whole day. That's like rare back in the day. If you tell somebody from like that, so back in the day, barbers were like mailmen. They would go door to door and they would ask, "Do you want a haircut? Yes or no?" So they were kind of like doctors, and they actually were the first doctors. So a little side story. The barber pole is red, white, and blue. So, and then on top it has like a little cup in the bottom, and then on top it has like another little cup. So The red on the barber pole stands for the blood, the blue stands for the veins, and the white stands for the bandages. And those two little things is like the cups where they used to put the blood at. Because back in the day, only the priests and the barbers were the only ones who could touch blood. But then the priests were like, oh no, this is kind of like unholy for us to touch blood. So then the barbers were like, we were like the first doctors. So then when I started learning that, I was like, barbers were traveling like people, and then there were doctors, and then they would cut your hair just so, like if you needed it. Like so if you were hairy, and I was like, oh, you wanted some blood work done, and then on top of that, I'd be like, oh, let me cut you up. So we were just kind of like healers, going around town healing people, making sure they were good and things like that. So then when I learned that, I was like, dude, I'm doing kind of like what barbers are supposed to do, and I felt way more alive as a barber doing that, traveling, going places. People would always have food for me. They'll be like there was like a sporting event or something. They'll give you like a beer. I'll be just they'll make me part of their family while I'm there. And then I was like, what if I do this all around the USA? What if I take like a little risk and I start traveling and I just start putting it out there like, hey, if I'm gonna be going from different states, and then my friends started reaching out through Instagram. So I'm using a free app to pretty much I'm getting paid because I'm traveling and I'm working at these shops and stuff like that. And then this is like when COVID was kind of like they were like opening up little by little. So then I started traveling, and then one of my friends that he's in the shop right now, Pedro. He's so he if you see him, you know him. So he has curly hair too. So I started going with him, and he wasn't even a barber. I would just use him to cut his hair and stuff like that and train. And then he bought a car here in Illinois, and bro, we took that car around the whole like we're missing like 4 or 5 states, and we were going around, and he ended up even becoming a barber because he started seeing like the fruits of my labor, but then he could do it himself because I was like, bro, you're an electrician. You could like with your work ethic, you could be a way better barber than anything because if you put that into this, you can if he likes it, traveling and things like that. So we ended up cutting in like Colorado, Cali, um, North Carolina, all these places we were going to, and then I was like, wow, um, this could take you to like overseas if you do it good enough, because wherever hair grows, I can go. That's what I learned from that experience. And then I ended up in San Francisco because the scissor company there's a scissor company I work with. They had a free event for the educators, so we went. And then I meet this guy there, and he's like, "Hey man, I see you taking notes with your notebook. You're the only ones taking notes." That was me and my friend. He was like, "You're the only ones taking notes here. I like that. Here, take my info." So I got his Instagram, his number, or whatever. And like a week later, he hits me up. He's like, "Hey man, I see what you're doing. You're traveling, but since you don't have a place to stay, I would like you to like work here pretty much, like in Illinois. Like we would need a guy like you. We would love to have a guy like you here." And then I seen the shop. Everybody knows how to cut with shears, which is rare. If you know the barber world now, it's rare for people to know how to cut with scissors. Barbers just know how to fade. So since I knew how to cut with scissors, I was like, wow, but these guys know how to cut with scissors, but their fades are crazy. So I like to travel to learn. Like it's not pretty much about like it's not about the money and things like that. It's pretty much like if I can go there and I see myself growing every day or every month, I'm gonna go there. And that's what this place that I'm at, Skull and Thrones, pretty much brought to the table. So I was like, all right, I'll try it out. And then Eric, the owner, he was like, try this out for a week, and if you like it, you can move over here. And at the time, I was in Georgia, and I tried out for a week, bro. And it was like the worst weather ever too. But I loved it. I loved the shop. So I was like, the fact that the weather is terrible here, it's like November or something. The fact that the weather's terrible, but I love just being here. I don't even got to leave this building because I love the hair that comes in through here. Because we don't really get that many European people back in the South. So here, bro, the hair is like beautiful, things like that. And then that's how I ended up here.
And
Yeah.
would you say the top talent over there and like that kind of attracted you to go there too, on top of
Mm.
the continuous learning mentality, um, and like the whole environment?
Yeah, it was kind of like I wasn't trying to do the Kevin Durant thing. Like, he went to Golden State. Oh yeah, I'm gonna go because his team's like just winning all the time. No, it was like wow, I feel like I beat this level. Like I feel like I beat Florida. Like Florida barbers, it's a hot state, so people are pretty much just getting low haircuts with fades. That's like how it is over there. Here, it gets colder, so people will grow out their beards, people grow out their hair. And then if I'm training to be an educator for a scissor company, then I have to put myself in places that has longer hair because if not, then I'm just gonna know the skill and I won't be able to use it. So it just made more sense. I had a full clientele over there, and then it was like most of my homies that I grew up with, so most of them didn't even want to pay the new prices. As I leveled up, I would charge new prices because I would get more booked. So I was like, you know what? It makes more sense for me to just start new, and then I'll give all my clients to all my boys that I worked with in that studio, and then let me go start new to see what I'm really made out of, and let me see if the skills that I've been learning are, because the hardest thing to do for a barber is start brand new somewhere and then make your clientele from 0 to 100. Only the ones that are really in it and that really love what they do can really go somewhere and start from zero and build up. And I'm confident that I can do that anywhere because it's all energy. It's all like, I'm going to make friends. I'm not there to make money. So if I'm going there with that approach, if one person sits in my chair and I become friends with him, then he's gonna bring his friends. Kind of like how it happened with us.
Yeah.
And that's how I approach it, bro. I can go anywhere, even if I don't know the language. I can just smile to the client. He'll show me a picture of what he wants. He'll feel the energy that I'm giving him. I'm being careful. I'm 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 being detailed, so he knows that I care about what I do and things like that. And that goes a long way, bro. Because when people see that you love what you do, they're just gonna trust you. And that's what I'm there for. Like I'm there to not only enhance your hair, but also enhance kind of like I say like the soul in a way. Because if we talk about life, we've talked about life things like deep things in life, and that's better than just a barber that's gonna cut your hair. Oh, hi and bye.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly right. I mean, you're spending an hour with the guy, have a conversation,
Uh-huh.
learn something new. I mean, you taught me a thing or two about my own hair
Oh
that I
yeah.
never knew from, other barbers never taught me that. So that's what I, loved and enjoyed, getting a haircut from you and, always, getting the fresh fade, then
Mhm.
putting all the guys and,
Mhm.
on it too. And, they're saying the same thing. Jake with new haircuts too,
Yeah.
new hairstyles that he never even
I
knew
just cut
about.
Marcus. I think like 2 days yesterday, 2 days ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
looking good for dinner. We
Uh-huh.
got dinner, so that was it's all good to feel fresh and clean. Coming out of the
Mhm.
barber shop with a awesome haircut. Um, but with Skull and Thrones, um, I know there's been a couple times where you were close to breaking records there, right? I don't know
Mhm.
if did break the records, being most booked and um
We usually do that competition around Christmas time. So we'll literally be like, guys, let's see. We'll open up our schedules like crazy times, like 6 in the morning till like 8 at night or something. Sometimes like the whole week, because it's Christmas time. You gotta take advantage. That's like a holiday for us too. So, because a holiday to the world, it's a payday for the barber. So, any Mother's Day, Father's Day, Christmas, people are trying to get look good for that. So, while people are off, we're there grinding, and we're like, okay, let's take advantage of this because people don't mind being here like at 9 at night. As long as there's a spot open, they're gonna be there. So, yeah, I broke my record personal record because there's guys there that have been here for years, and I'm like, dude, to beat those numbers, you gotta have like this year 3. I think I'm gonna have the client. I have the clientele for that, so I'm just gonna open up that schedule. But I broke my own personal record at least, like the most I've ever made in a week, most I've ever made in a day, most clients I've cut, and that's just here because of like I said, the place I work at, everybody loves what they do, so the clients just know, like they don't even ask. Like I've been here for 3 years. I don't think I've had like one argument with a client, like like a real like a Florida like oh my God, that's not what I wanted. No, here people just trust you. They're like, oh, these guys are professionals. I trust them. So that alone just adds energy because I'm like, oh, I'm confident in myself, and now the client's confident in me. It's gonna be a fire haircut every time.
yeah.
hmm
Now, kind of backtracking a little bit, when you were talking about growing your clientele, being a new barber in a
hmm
new area you're not familiar with, what do you, outside of, the intention of like going in and like talking as friends and like, having a genuine conversation with them, is there any other like approaches you take to build your clientele from zero to, where you're at?
Oh, this is where it's at. This is where I hope barbers watch this podcast because this is where it's at. So a lot of barbers when they come into the industry or hairstylists, they think, oh, because I'm qualified for this, I'm just gonna be here and just it's all gonna come my way. Sometimes it happens like that. Sometimes you get booked because the place that you work at's really busy. But what you want is not to be booked. What you want as a hairstylist or any type of business, what you want is you want to get the clients that add to your mission. So, you know me, bro. I'm like I'm 31, but I'm a nerd. Like I love anime. I love like sports. I love just challenging myself. So I visualize myself, and this is crazy, but I literally visualize myself. Like I'll be home just with my eyes closed, and I'll visualize. I don't know who's gonna come in, but I'll just visualize people. It doesn't even have to have faces. It's just I'm visualizing people coming into my chair. It could even be clients. I can visualize you coming into my chair and switching up your haircut or something like that. So I can visualize a bunch of people coming in and just talking about sports, talking about anime. Somehow, the clients that I get are talking about these things. They love
So you're
growth.
manifesting it.
So I'm manifesting it by just literally visualizing it and then trying to get myself as good as I can with all types of hair so then I can be ready for any type of client. So, but the way to make those clients is not only yeah visualizing it, but then I go out to all the places I like to go out to. So if I love the bookstore, I'm probably gonna go there today. I'll go to the bookstore. Any conversation I have, I'm a barber. So if any guy I meet there, if I'm like talking to a guy, oh bro, I like that book too. Yeah, man, everything. I'll be like, yo, if they don't have a haircut, I'll be like, man, you have great. Like if they have great hair, if I know, I mean, I know I'm gonna lace them up, but I'll be like, hey man, you should let me give you a cut one day. You got cool hair. Like even if it's the first haircut's gonna be free because I'm like, do you have a personal barber? No, I don't have a personal barber. Bro, what? What are you talking about? Like I love doing this. I would love, I can make you look way better. Like just here, I'll give him like my Instagram or something. Bro, next thing you know, that guy, just that interaction, 10 out of 10 times, and especially here, they'll pull up because they're close. I'll be like, oh, I'm right there in Addison. The places I love to eat ramen. So, bro, I'm cutting up both a chef from one of the ramen spots and a chef from another ramen places. So I got two of the manager dudes getting haircuts with me, and it's just literally going to the places I like, doing the things I like, and that's gonna attract the clients that I want. Instead of
Right.
getting some random people that I don't know, I'm manifesting. So then what I do just gets even funner, and I love it even more because I'm like, dude, I'm literally like the Manny thing. I'm not playing the game, I'm controlling it. So it's
Yeah.
like, dude, that's what I want. That's how I want to live. I want to, control the game. Because what good does it do for me to know all these techniques and get so good at cutting hair if I'm not cutting the right people? So it's like, yeah.
So that's one strategy of growing your clientele, and then not only that, but you're also getting people that are like-minded like you.
Yeah.
Um, and just the intention, in the first interaction is awesome too.
Yeah, interaction, just being yourself, because like I said, if I'm in let's say if I'm in the personal growth section and there's dudes picking up personal growth books, there's a high chance we're gonna have a good combo because he's on the same journey I'm on. Like
Yeah.
if I see you even without knowing us, and we're these books alone, if I didn't never knew you, I'll know something about you because of these books. You even got one of my favorite books here. So it's like, bro, that just what people call it, like your spirit family. That's like the spirit family. Like, whoa, we're on the same path, you know. So while one guy's over there talking about, I don't know, I guess politics or something, we're over here trying to grow, and that's all we care about. So that's yeah.
And what's awesome about it is we might even be in different career paths, but we're still trying to do the same thing, which is level up.
Level up.
And I think that's what's awesome about personal development because it's the mindset that everybody shares, even though the
Hmm.
craft is different.
Yeah.
And you just apply like with baseball with you. You had the discipline, you applied it to baseball, but now you applied it to, cutting hair.
Yeah.
So now it's like, you're leveling up in different areas, and growing. So that's a pretty neat thing too.
Hmm.
Um, on top of that, I know you also have like done like taught classes around, the country.
Hmm.
Is there anything like in particular, like what made you wanna, teach classes? How'd you get into something like that?
There's this quote. I'm not gonna say that. I don't want to say Confucius or one of these dudes from one of the Stoic dudes, but it was a quote that says, "I cannot teach you anything. I can only make you think." So that was what I was like, wow. The fact that they're letting me, because that was just a task that the
Yeah,
company, the
do you
scissor.
mind breaking what that, breaking down what that
So I
means?
cannot teach you anything. I could only make you think. Because everybody, to what it means to me is everybody has a learning style. Like me, I'm very like a hyper person. I'm very like hands-on. So like I said, I can't learn just sitting down, having somebody talk to me, but I could learn watching somebody do something, or I could learn through videos. I love reading, but I'm more of a visual learner. So if somebody's teaching me, and then they're they're teaching me, but they're telling me detail by detail what they're doing, then I'll start to understand. Then I'll start to think different, because if you're getting the same, if we're, let's say we're both barbers and you're doing it one, if you're doing it one way and I'm doing it a different way, but you're still getting the same result, the only thing that changes is your mindset, is your thinking. So it's like, how did this guy start over here? Like, you started from back here, but I started from here, but we still have the same haircut. So when it comes to teaching, um, I don't even think about me being an educator. I think about me being in a room, like a classroom, and I'm like, okay, I just have the voice for the day, so I could teach you guys how I think, and then maybe somebody in the class is gonna like take some gems or something from that, and that's gonna advance the way they think. Hopefully, he can surpass my skill level, so then I can learn from him, because like that's just how, and then that's how it works. So then the good thing is, it's kind of like in barbering. You start from the lower levels. You start in your garage. You don't know how to cut. Then you start learning how to cut a little bit, and then people that they don't care about what their hair looks like start trusting you, and then you start getting good, and then you actually start cutting people that care about their hair, and then it's just like a constant level up to then you become an educator. Once you become an educator, you're not trying to teach clients or anybody. Then you're teaching people that know what they do or think that they know what they do, and you're teaching yourself too. Because that's what I'm learning. I'm like, wow, I love this so much that now when I'm teaching people, I'm really teaching me. I'm seeing if I know what I'm doing. So it's like that's the best thing about educating. That's why the person that teaches is pretty much learning the most. But then you teaching, that picks out the people that are pretty much either gonna help you or you're gonna help them. And most of the time you end up helping somebody that's gonna like evolve what you're doing. So that's the best thing about educating. Just like being like, wow, I don't have to figure this out on my own. I could just teach somebody that's like probably just starting off. Because people that are starting off have so much energy that if you teach them, they're gonna like do what you're doing. Like I've been doing this already for like 10 years professionally, or probably more. So yeah, I know how to like get better. But what if the young kids that are coming up, bro, their energy, and then if they're learning everything that I have from all these 10 years, and I just gave it to them, they're gonna take it to a whole different level. And that's all life's about, is just teaching pretty much the past generation, and then us perfecting what we know. So then when we leave, so when we die, we leave a life worthy of passing on.
Yeah, and you're helping them take a leap too in their
Mhm.
careers instead of like learning the long way that you did.
Yeah.
You're only helping out them, which is
Hmm.
then gonna allow them to pass that along in the future. They could level
Hmm.
up faster, and then
Yeah.
hopefully they do something like what you're doing of teaching other
Hmm.
people. So then it keeps going down, passed down every generation.
Yeah.
Um, Now, so that's kind of like the why behind why you're teaching and everything.
Hmm.
Have you taught like in? I think you've taught in like different states too, right?
Yeah, the last one was in Hawaii, and that one was fun because the weather was just so amazing. We're outdoors. Um, I met my cousin for the first time, so I'm on the stage. I'm cutting my friend that I traveled the USA with. So dude,
Hmm.
it felt like something crazy. It was like a visualization, but times 10. It was like, wow, like I knew I wanted to teach, but when I'm visualizing this, I'm in a class, but I'm in an island, and this is like a beautiful weather, and I'm outdoors, and I'm cutting hair, and I'm meeting all types of people, and I'm teaching them, and they're like changing their lives, and they're changing minds. So yeah, it's just there's no limit. Like I said, where hair grows, I can be there. And one of the quotes that I like to tell people when I teach them is, a barber can cut hair in a prison or in a castle, because there's hair in both places. But depending on your your level of, kind of like, I'm not gonna say frequency, 'cause that's like it's like that YouTube talk, but you know what I mean. Like wherever you're at mentally, that's the people that you're gonna cut. So like I said, you can cut in a prison or you can cut in a castle. It's just, the king is only gonna let someone who he thinks worthy of cutting his hair cut him up. So that's probably gonna be a barber that takes his craft so serious that, that's worthy of a king. But then if you don't care what you do, if you're just like, oh, I'm just gonna get by, one of these barbers that's just like hustling in all types of ways, gets arrested, and you're gonna be cutting in a prison. That's what I say. It's like, yo, it's whatever, you could do whatever you want with the game, but you're gonna be where you're supposed to be at. So yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything that like any like major lessons that you've learned along the way with cutting hair and um advancing? and developing your skills?
Um, Something I learned is because I've been cutting hair already for so long that it's like, and life is always gonna happen. So you're always gonna have people that come into your life and out of your life. Most of the friends that I had in school are probably not even in my life anymore, like middle school, high school. So something I learned is like barbering, it's like it used to be my life and it kind of like separated me because I'm pretty sure this happens to athletes too, but when you're trying to get really good at something, you kind of isolate yourself from the world just to give all your energy to that. So I kind of like forgot I had no balance, but something that barbering has taught me is balance. So a balance and like, okay, when I'm free, I could work on myself, but when I'm with people, I gotta feed the people, kind of like give them my energy. So that's something that I've learned, and kind of like that, the way I do one thing is the way I do any other thing. So just the approach, because you have to be so present to be a barber. You have to be right there in the moment. Like there's no way I could be like cutting your hair and looking this way.
Yeah.
So that's what I've taken from it. I'm like, if I'm really present in everything I do, then it's gonna give me a high chance to have a really good experience from it and be able to just grow from this. So that's why I'm so addicted to cutting hair because each haircut, it's kind of like a challenge that I have to pass. It's a test that I have to pass.
So in other words, it's like you have to give your undivided attention to what you're doing in the moment, not distracting yourself from
Yeah.
thinking about what you're gonna do later, or,
Mm-hmm.
what's the other guy doing next to me type of thing. It's, let me focus on what I'm doing now, perfect it, then we worry about the next thing later. And that's kind of how you found your balance of like not
Yeah.
getting distracted by your other things, but more so, um, focusing on one thing at a time.
It's like it's almost as if all my little hobbies or things that I do are just like a simulation to like just keeping it cool. So yeah, like I said, every haircut's like a challenge. Some challenges are harder than others. 'Cause some people, I have people that get like one or two haircuts a year, and they go to me all the time, but they just get like one or two haircuts a year. So when they're coming in, that's gonna be like a lot of work. As somebody like you that comes every 2 weeks, somebody that that has that on their schedule already, like I gotta look good. That's an easier haircut to do. We're pretty much just focusing on the conversation at that point. But there's some people that it's like, dude, we gotta just give all the energy to this haircut. But and then I can't talk to them as much because I'm focusing on, staying focused. But I am talking to them in a way because I'm the energy they're feeling from the care that I'm giving them, during that. So yeah, it's just that goes back to that thing. Like the way you do one thing is the way you do every other thing. So like I said, if I have 10 haircuts a day, those are 10 opportunities that I have to train myself for me to, stay focused, stay on task. So that's why it gets so addicting. And I always tell people find some like a hobby or something that is gonna test you to like a little fake simulation. So then you could use that towards anything. Because then what if we get into what if you get into a fight with your girl or something? What was training you to keep it cool during that argument?
Yeah.
It's like these
Yeah.
little things. So that's why life is so fun. We just gotta find something to train, to train with.
Absolutely. And that's the one thing that I've definitely learned with you is that it's not just cutting hair, but it's also learning how to talk to the person, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And like I know we've had the conversation before where it's like, you got 10 haircuts a day. That's 10 different lives that you're talking to, 10 different conversations of experiences. Some are probably good, some are probably,
Mm-hmm.
going through a rough patch in their life. And it's like you as the barber, like it's like I don't know if it's your responsibility, but you have to listen and hear, what
Mm-hmm.
they have to say and maybe comfort them or give them some sort of
Yeah.
advice. I know you've
Mm-hmm.
shared a little bit about that.
Yeah, no, that's so important. Like at the beginning, I would get drained, like honest, because I'm starting off cutting hair, and I have a clientele because I'm working at the hometown where I grew up at, so I have a full clientele, and then you see the stages of life because I started from a kid till now, but you're seeing people that you grow up with, and if you do life long enough, you're gonna have people that go through loss, people that go through depression, people that go through addiction, and you're seeing all this happen in the chair. I'm just seeing it all happen because they say good business gets tested in the first 10 years. So now that I'm year what, like 13, 14 professionally, dude, I've seen friends go from like top athletes to like drug addicts, like die and stuff like that. And this is just me being raw, right now. Just dude, I've seen people flip their life around. I've seen people, friends, like struggle with like obesity and things like that, and lose all their weight. So I see beautiful things, but then I have dark side of things. People that lose their wives to cancer and things like that. And then I'm like, bro, so like at the beginning, dude, I would like sometimes I would have to take off the whole day. I'll be cutting and I'm like, bro, one of my best clients just lost his wife out of nowhere, and then he has 2 kids, and I'm over here cutting hair. Life is easy for me, but this guy's life is hard. So I'm getting all the perspectives from all my clients, and that's another lesson right there. As a any business or bar or anything, your clients are actually they're like a book. So every time you read a book, you're gonna get a new perspective. But every in barbering, every client you get is like a book, and you're getting their whole life. The cooler you get with them, the closer you get with them, the more they're gonna let you into their life, and then the more you can let them into your life. And I have friends that I cut with that are like, dude, why do you open up to your clients? Why do you tell them about your personal life? I'm like, bro, I'm an open book. Like
Yeah,
that's why I have so many clients because I'm telling them, yeah, bro, I've had a heartbreak. Yeah, bro,
you're
I've
honest.
I'm honest, dude. Like, yeah, I've blacked out drinking. I've done this and that. This things like that, stupid things. And then I relate with my younger kids that are
Yeah,
going through the same
yeah,
thing. The kids that just left high school, they're like, oh, dude, I just drank the first time in college. I'm like, bro, I we all went through that, but it's cool that you're with your boys and growing and doing all these things. So I'm relating to them, and they're thinking like, oh wow, this guy's not just some guy that cuts my hair. Like he's like my homie now. And
exactly.
boom,
Dude, that's
yeah.
where I have like a lot of respect for you is because it's like we could have these
Dude,
conversations,
yes
you know,
sir.
and it's like
Mm-hmm.
you don't do that with the everyday person,
Mm-mm.
and that's why I find a lot of value in our
Uh-huh.
relationship and how
Oh,
you approach,
that's why he's
um,
Eternal Barber, because I'm your barber eternally, bro. Even if I leave the state, bro, I'm gonna be your friend. Where if you go visit, let's say I'm in Arizona or something, you go there, I'm gonna cut hair there. You
yeah,
know?
might have to take a trip out there just for the
Yeah. Oh
haircut.
yeah.
Um, okay, so on the topic of like teaching other people and maybe like other people that are interested in getting into being a barber, like what advice would you, give someone that's interested in doing, that kind of craft?
What advice I always tell for anybody, you just gotta love what you do. You gotta be able to do it without getting paid. I saw this interview the other day. It was a guy that cut the best MLB players. This guy's in New York. And he was like a New York Yankees barber, but then the New York Yankees, they have like some of the best players in the world. So they ended up bringing the other athletes to him. So like let's say this guy would cut up like Derek Jeter or A-Rod. Next thing you know, he's cutting up David Ortiz because David Ortiz is cool with A-Rod, things like that. And that guy was saying he was like, I never charge the players, and they're like, what? Why? And he's like, because my job has no price. But they paid him. Obviously, they always paid him. They basically all just tipped him a good amount. But you can tell what by him just saying that it's like he didn't do it because oh yeah, I'm cutting a bunch of MLB players. They're paying me $500, $1,000 a cut, and they're flying me out and paying me and taking care of me and my family. No, he's like, I love what I do. Therefore, my job is it has no price because I love what I do. So that's more valuable than a guy that's like, oh, I charge 40, I charge 50. This is what I'm worth. And this guy's like, no, I'm not worth anything. I'm worth my love for this craft. So I always tell people if you're trying to get into something, barbering or anything, it's a passion game. So I see passion like a candle. So a candle, it could be you could have a candle from here to like the top of your house. And if you start lighting it up, it's gonna burn slowly. But if you have a candle that's like from here to the floor, that candle is gonna like die out quick. So it's the passion is the wax, and then the hard work you put in is what burns it. And then to make it even funner, if you notice in life, you can't really beat your craft until you master it completely. So if I want to leave cutting hair, I have to get so good at it that hair frees me. So you kind of like any craft you do, you got to become like a slave to it. You become a slave to your craft until your craft frees you. So you're a slave to it. You're figuring it out. You're studying all types of way, and then you get so good at it that it frees you. And that's kind of like what happened to that guy, that the MLB barber. And that's like the same approach I take. I'm like, if I go hard enough in this, I'm gonna separate myself from all the barbers that are just cutting hair. And the people that separate themselves, it doesn't matter what you do. You could be a janitor. If you separate yourself, you're gonna get requested by somebody that cares so much about their hair and things like that. So that's yeah. As long as you have the
Yeah,
passion, you can do anything.
that's an interesting way to kind of like picture the whole idea of passion and mastering it, and then
Hmm.
you know be using that to free you to the next thing.
Frees you,
Um,
yeah.
Uh,
Blood,
in
sweat, and tears.
yeah, in terms of maybe if there was one thing that you wish you knew before when you first started, is there anything that you would have tell your younger self, um, uh, in terms of being a barber?
I would say, and this, I hope I word this right, but I would say stay focused on my mission because I would take all the little detours, like, oh yeah, on Thursdays, let's go out. So we would make it a go out thing every day with the barbers. So we would go out, drink, have fun, then go to a Friday all tired at like 7 in the morning. And had I stayed focused on my mission, I would have advanced even more because I would have had way more energy on a Friday instead of working like half days and things like that, when I'm younger. So basically, yeah, to make sense, it's the more focused you are on what you do, because okay, my journey doesn't unfold by just me working hard. My journey unfolds by me staying focused in my vision. And then that's going to bring everything that's going to make that vision into a reality. So even this right here is part of the vision that I have. It's like, okay, I want to have talks with friends that I make about things that really matter, to us, like personal growth and just being better man every day. That would never happen if I'm over here turning up every day, after the barbershop, which is that's things barbers do because they get fast money, so they spend it fast. But I'm like, that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to, to leave an impact and grow and take friends along with me on the journey. Because I might, I'm here this year, but I might be somewhere else next year,
Hmm.
even though I plan to stay here for a while. But yeah, that's like my approach. That's my approach right now.
Is there any you know books or anything that kind of like impacted your mindset and
Mm.
approach to life?
This is a book. I'm happy because I didn't see it here because I'm like, dude, I gotta give it to you as a gift now. But this is one of my favorite books, Think and Grow Rich, because that one, it's not even about money. It just shows Think and Grow Rich,
It's
but
yeah, thing. It's
it's
the
like a
mindset.
mindset thing. So, um, one of the books that really like impacted me, it was the seven. It was the highly seven habits of highly effective people. Seven habits,
Okay.
and it has a wheel, that book, and it's like, dude, it's 7 habits, so it's like 7 things, and it's kind of like you rinse and repeat those over. But that book impacted me so much. The seven. I gotta probably look that up, but you know what I mean. You've probably
Yeah.
seen it. The 7 habits of highly effective people. Um, and it checks you because it starts talking about how not only is there a worldly currency, but there's spiritual currency. And how do you acquire spiritual currency? With integrity, with all these little things like honesty, just being truthful and all that. It's gonna pretty much that's what's gonna bring those people to you. So it's not about me being the best like haircut or stylist because there's people that cut way better hair than me. But then how do I attract these key people into my life, or how do I meet these key people? It's just with the spiritual currency. So like that book was talking about, one of the habits is just integrity. So if I'm truthful with myself, then I'm gonna be truthful with you, and then you're gonna trust me even more because you're like, wow, this guy, like, he's not gonna lie to me. If you tell me like, yo, like the other day, a little side story, bro, I was in the light and I had a series always take me to the wrong way, so I have to go 2 lanes to the right, and then I'm over here like, oh wow, there's nobody here, and I just left the bookstore. I was in Schaumburg, half price bookstore. So I'm leaving it and I'm like, there's nobody, but I have to go 2 lanes down because these 2 lanes are all only for the left. So I don't
Yeah.
see anybody. I'm with another barber. We just like went to a bookstore and ate because we had like half a free day. We don't see anybody. I go back, bro, out of nowhere, boom. I'm like, what? Dude, I didn't see anybody. So, bro, I get out the car. There was a Buick there, and I swear, bro, I seen this guy with the freshest haircut. Some dude with the waves, a nice little slash, and I was like, yo, instantly, I didn't even care about the crash. I was just like, man, this guy has a really fresh cut. So instantly I saw, I was like, yo, bro, my bad, bro. I was like, yo, first of all, you got a fresh ass cut. Like I was like, I'm sorry about the crash. And the guy was like, bro, somehow nothing happened because the Jeep has a tire on the back. So I
Oh
just
yeah, yeah.
boom, I guess
The
the
tire
rubber of the
saved it.
tire, bro. The guy comes out, he's like I guess he just got a fresh cut or something, bro. He was with his girl. He's like, man, you know what, bro? You're good, bro. He's like, he's like, man, you're good. And I'm like, I'm thinking like, bro, I might have to fight this dude. Like something's going to happen, like insurance or whatever. All the scenarios that you're like could
Yeah.
happen. are just popping up. And I'm like, but the first thing that came out, I was like, damn, bro, 'cause I'm a barber. So I'm like, that's a fresh ass cut. And
Yeah.
then he was like, oh man, thank you, bro. Like he was happy. And then he probably knew I was a barber because I was almost gonna be like, bro, like I'll just like, let's go pull over, let's check what we gotta do. I'll pay you or whatever. Cause I just got lost my car when that lady ran into me last year. So this is my brand new Jeep. Dude, yeah, and I guess just that energy exchange, that dude didn't even, nothing happened, and nothing happened to the car. So I was like, bro, had it been somebody else, they probably would have got out of the car, been like, oh my neck, bro,
Yeah.
like
Right.
that. And that was just all, like I said, it was like that spiritual currency. Like I was being honest, I was like, yo, my fault. And then, he was like, bro, you know what, you're good. Like nothing really happened. So it was awesome. Yeah, it was just
Yeah.
that little energy exchange right there. So
Uh,
yeah.
is there, anything like um hobbies that contribute, to your life outside of barber, like being a barber, um
Mm.
that, you do to kind of like keep a balance between work and your personal life?
Yeah, today I'm gonna go. Well, I'm gonna rest probably or stretch or something, and then I'm gonna go to the rock climbing gym. That's something that I've added to my life, rock climbing, because since I'm not playing baseball anymore and I'm not trying to be a professional athlete anymore, I'm like I need something that's still gonna give me that, like I'm not gonna work out. When you're done with it, you feel like a beast. You feel like you could take on the world. I need something like that I can challenge myself. That's not gonna be easy. And rock climbing is doing it for me right now. It's like you got to use your whole body. You got to like, you hold a little rock climbing lesson here. So you hold and you make sure you're safe, and then you hold and you make sure you're safe, and then you move your leg and you make sure you're safe, and then you move your other leg to make sure you're safe, and then you do the same thing repeatedly, and then you're looking at, because in rock climbing, if you ever see a rock climbing wall, you're gonna see different colors. So let's say to get from here to the top, you have to go this route. You have to go like right and then left and then right up to the
Okay.
top. So you have to use your body. So you kind of have to visualize the route before you do it, and then you do it. And then you have to use your whole body. So you have to use mental powers because you have to visualize and imagine you going up there. And then you have to be ready physically because the longer you do it, the better you get at it. But then it's the in between. So like in between each rock, because I can't go rock climbing every day. My calluses would just won't let me. My hands would open up. You can go rock climbing probably 2 times a week. But in between, you're gonna strengthen those muscles with like a lot of calisthenics. So you're doing like body weight workouts. You can add weights, but me, I just like to use my own body. Just 'cause that's the only thing I'm taking up the mountain, just my body. So yeah, so you're the in betweens, and it's just like a discipline. It's the same thing as when I was starting to cut hair. So I'm like, dang, what if one day this becomes my main thing, which is awesome, but it's just a hobby. I just want to do it because I want to eventually do all 63 like national parks in the USA. So I'm like, I want to be ready just in case something happens. Because like, dude, what if you're like going up a hill and I don't know, like I don't know, a mudslide or something. You need some skills to climb or something.
Right.
Yeah, it's like a book I read. And the guy was like, the become the best martial artist you can. So then you don't have to. The goal is not to use martial arts, but if you know how to use all of them, somebody comes your way. It's like a MMA fighter. He can kill you with his hands, but he doesn't want to. It's just if he has to use it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing now that I kind of, I'm learning from you is, rock climbing, you're visualizing your path, right? You
Mm-hmm.
you you know what you're gonna do before you even do it. Same thing with chess. I know we talk about
Oh,
chess. You gotta
chess.
know your next, 5 moves.
Yeah.
There's even that book right here, and kind of like on that
Mm-hmm.
concept of you gotta
Yeah.
know what your plan is before you do it.
Yeah.
And same thing with being a barber. You know how you're gonna approach a certain haircut. Um, and that I think that's kind of like a trait that leads to being successful is you're not doing it on the fly. You know how you're gonna
Mm.
approach it, and that kind of plays a big role into why you're where you're at currently.
Yeah, that's something because I've even when I got into like this, I got into this flow of just reading spiritual books and stuff like that from like India, Buddhist books and things like that. I would start reading all types of books, and a lot of these books were telling me, "Oh yeah, just let go, just don't think, just be this and that." And then I was like, "All right, living like that, it's like I tried it out, but it's like that's a boring life. Like I guess that's for people that have had, I guess, so much trauma that they need to just be alone." Because I'm like, dude, anybody that accomplished anything thought about it and then they did it. And then I read like this Nikola Tesla book that he wrote, and it was like just like his diaries or whatever. And why did he get to the level he got to? Because he thought. So he would be like kind of like visualizing things, but like let's say he would get this microphone and he would break it apart little by little and see why it became the way it did. So then when he started doing things, he knows that there's a structure to building something, even construction, how we talked about it, building carpentry and things like that. You have to know the measurements. You have to know to create this. It has to be like, I'm pretty sure this is like a masterpiece, to create things that curves and angles and things like that, you have to have a plan. So if I go to a mountain or a rock climb wall and I'm just like, oh yeah, let me just climb this wall, dude, I'm gonna have a hard time. But if I sit down, visualize it, and I come up with a plan, kind of like in chess, um, yeah, and then the better you get at chess, the more you start to not even like you plan, but you're looking at okay, what is you're so focused on your work that you're just focusing okay, where is his weakness? And that's the point we kind of got to get to. Like I'm so ready and confident and I know what I could bring to the table that I'm just seeing if there's anything off in the what I'm trying to create,
And
so
it creates an opportunity for you
yeah.
too, in a way. Uh, in your whole journey of traveling, different careers, I'm sure there was a point of breaking your comfort zone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know you've even talked about this in the past of like it's necessary for growth.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything you want to touch upon, that
Mm-hmm.
topic.
Yeah, I mean, what better way to test yourself than putting yourself through hardship. Like especially I respect people that live in Illinois because you guys deal with this cold every year. So that's kind of like the reason why I'm even here. Because when I first left Florida, I was like, what's the furthest place away possible that's like in the middle of everything? But it's like there's still hardship in there. I can still grow, I can still work and do all these things, but I need hardship, weather conditions, things like that. And if you start to put yourself in hardship, then you start to see what you're made out of. And if you start to see what you're made out of, then you're seeing your truest self. So that's why I was kind of talking about like if I'm gonna have a team, let's say I'm gonna go on an endeavor, I'm gonna have a team of pirates. Like we're gonna go from here and we're gonna travel all the seven seas or whatever. And my test to them would be like, let's go on the craziest hikes, the highest altitudes, because like I said, that lets you know who's really built for this or who's not. So like yeah, it's like test yourself, go like I always say this, some people are like, oh, why? But it's like go on solo adventures. If you go on solo adventures, you're gonna see what you're really made out of. Like, yeah, if you're with a group of friends, it's easy because yeah, like you can comfort each other, but that's why workouts and things like that are so important because you're kind of like going on a solo adventure. Like let's say you're going in for bench day or something like that. That's a solo adventure right there. You're seeing what you're made out of and you're seeing how much you can push. And if you're really focused and really serious about what you're doing, then you're gonna change your diet, you're gonna change everything you do, your approach, your mental aspect of it, and then you just do that with everything in life, and then you start to see like, wow, I'm testing myself with everything I do because it's showing me who I really am, and then all you got to do is become that person who you visualize yourself, and then throw yourself to those tasks, and then those tasks will expose who you have to become in order to be that person, and that's why the journey of growth is so important.
Do you think you have do you know what your mission is, through your journey of growth?
Yeah, it starts my mission, I would always say, is just bettering myself because the more I better myself, the better things, my perspective shifts in life. So I'm just trying to be as open minded as possible and have like a really wide perspective on life and pretty much like be open to learn about everything because that's what's helping me. It's like let's say your container only goes as deep as your thoughts. So the more open-minded you are, like if you're willing to study science, but you're also willing to study religion, you're also willing to study sports or medicine, things like that, your bag of tools is going to be really awesome. So then if you come across somebody that has a problem like, oh man, my chair broke, then you have your bag of tools that you can just pull something out and help them out, making that like a life problem. Their problem could be a life problem, but then because you're so equipped with the experiences that you've had. So yeah, it does have it's like a lot of sacrifice because I'm sacrificing time with my family. I'm sacrificing like, having girlfriends and things like that because it's like a lot of people can't deal with, with moving a lot. So it's like I'm sacrificing myself just to grow and to help others. And then one day when when things are just all when the vision aligns, then I'll settle down somewhere where I really, which is also part of my traveling. I'm traveling just to see what's my favorite state. And then once I settle, then it's just like boom, then just feed whatever comes my way, whether it be a kid, because a kid is like a child would be like the perfect example of pushing forward everything that you've worked for. 'Cause that's like we talked about earlier. A kid is just your mom and your dad, created you, and now you are their best version, and then so you're advancing the game that they started, and then they're gonna teach you all they know to the best of their abilities, which is why we always gotta love them because they're doing the best they can, and then we do that to whoever comes to our life, and that's what's so awesome about life. So
Yeah, and being like on the topic of being like open-minded, I think that also plays into another thing you like to talk about is having that student mindset, and just
hmm
in the whole game of life.
yeah.
Um, is there anything like in specific that you would say of like why you want to keep that student mindset and how that influences your approach to new challenges and opportunities?
Yeah, the student mindset, because with the student mindset, you'll pretty much surpass anything until you stop being a student. Because the like that kind of like going back to that thing about when I played with Manny, I had I didn't have the student mindset. I was so good in All Star and AU and all this that I was like, oh, I thought I was the master. But then here comes somebody that's a student because he's like, oh, I haven't made it yet to the top, but I'm just learning. But look how much he's learning. That he's learning so much that he's already a first rounder. So then that humbles me, and I'm like, wow. So even in barbering, um, some people would only learn from the best educators, but it's like, dude, you gotta learn from the students that are coming up now because if you want to know what to do, study what not to do. So it's like okay, what is not if I want to be a good educator, what is not a good educator? And then I start learning, oh wow, a bad educator shows up late. A bad educator will say, he'll get stuck because he didn't practice, his class, things like that. And then I'm learning that from pretty much, yeah, like I said, I'd rather learn from people that are just coming up now than somebody that already got it. Somebody that already got it, you're pretty much you're seeing them in their success. But it's better to see somebody grinding and coming up because then it's like, wow, there's some fire in there, some hunger.
Right.
And then boom, you just add that, you stay around. I always say this, like I'm 31 right now, but I always hang around the young homies. Like, let's say I got like kids that just came out of high school. They're like what 20 right now. I take those kids rock climbing with me. I'm like, bro, let's go. Like they love the gym. They're full of energy, and then it just keeps you young. Like me being
Yeah.
around the young homies, I'm like, bro, I'm gonna, like my little cousin. He's like what, like 19 right now, bro. The young kids, they'll keep that young energy going, because they have so much faith with life. Like, oh man, I want to do this, I want to do that, and then we have to keep that kind of like that inner child alive because that's how the ideas are gonna come out. Like that's why
Being creative.
the creative, yeah, that's why I say I'm like, okay, when you're a little kid, you're playing at the playground. When you get older, you start playing at the national parks because it's a park, but it's just a park for adults. You have to have strength to hike. You're gonna go in different altitudes. So it's kind of like everything I do is kind of like to keep that inner child alive. Because if that inner child stays alive, then I'm gonna be super optimistic with life, how kids are, and I'm always gonna have faith for anything I do. So faith meaning like the unseen. Like, okay, can I become the best barber in Illinois, right? Can I become that's like a journey, but the only thing that's gonna get me there is faith, having faith in myself. Like, wow, all the experiences I've had, there's got to be a reason why I'm here, And if I have this thought of being the best, it's got to be for a reason. So I got to work towards that, and then that alone keeps me so busy that I'm not focusing on partying or like doing all these things. I'm focused on just growing because that's what's really gonna help the kids make a better future. So yeah.
It kind of segues into what I want to talk about next is like your future career,
hmm
personal endeavors and stuff like that. And you're talking about being the best barber in Illinois.
Yeah,
It
dude.
plays a role in that.
Yeah, because like I said, if I want to stop cutting hair, I have to be the best at cutting hair. That's just how it works. I'm sure any barber that sees this would understand that. Like it's like, or even in sports, if I want to be, if you want to be the best baseball player, you have to be a Hall of Famer. If you're a Hall of Famer, when you retire, you're gonna get that pension, Hall of Fame pension. Some people have to do like 20 years in sports just to get a pension, but if you're a Hall of Famer, you retire, you're gonna get that check every month. for what you did. So it's like, why don't I just go hard to the point where when I retire, everything that I work for is still paying me, instead of just being like an average barber. So I'm like, even if I stop cutting hair tomorrow, my mindset is still I'm gonna be the best barber. If my last day is Friday of cutting hair, I gotta come up with a plan to become the best barber by Friday. Something like that. Little games. I'm literally always playing games with myself. Like, okay, how can I get this good? Or how can I get to the top of that climb or something like that? And that alone is like I said, like inner child that's always playing. And I always thank sports for that because that's what starts that fire. And
Yeah.
then if we talk about it, then we both do it too because it's like, yo,
Right. Do
yeah.
you think the view of like looking at things as a game has helped you advance very fast? Because it's like, have you ever heard of the concept gamify? Like where it
Mm,
basically, you create a game to then create the uh like not the adrenaline but the competitiveness to be able to want, or not to be able to, but to drive you further. Um it sounds like that's
yeah,
kind of
yeah. It's a
an approach
drive, and
you.
I've learned that from just reading books, chess, because I've read a couple chess books, and even Michael Jordan, his one of his books that he has, he said, my only power was being present each day. So he's like, my only power was that I didn't care what happened yesterday or tomorrow. I just cared about today. And look how far that man made it. Like, I'm glad we're here in Illinois where he played at. Because a little side story, I even moved out here because Michael Jordan played here. So I was like, dude, my favorite all-time athlete went to Chicago and he talked about how he had the most growth here. I was like, okay, if I have the opportunity to go there, which when the guy told me to come, I was like, heck yeah, dude, I'm gonna get 3 rings out here.
Yeah.
So this is my third year. So I'm like, each year, if I hit all my goals, I get a ring, not a physical ring, but so I got the client. First year was the clientele, then the tools that I needed, and then now this year is just everything together, clientele, the education, and the trips, and so little things like that.
Yeah. In terms of leaving like an impact on those you teach, clients, community, is there
hmm
anything specific that you're trying to achieve out here,
Out here
or even in general? I
in
don't want
general.
to. I don't want
Okay,
to.
yeah. In
Close it off.
general, so in general, something I want to achieve, like I said, a lot of my goals are kind of like games. So it's like I do want to do all 63 national state parks in America. I've only done three because I've gone to all these parks, but they weren't national state parks. So I was like, oh man. But yeah, that is one of those things. And then another thing would be I want to be able to, and this is something that the guy that taught me how to cut hair with scissors taught, like put in my mindset. And I was like, wow. So he's like, I started cutting hair for free, so I want to end cutting hair for free. So eventually you get to a point where, meaning like let's say we're doing tutorials. Like let's say I'm cutting your hair, but I'm recording it, so I'm doing it for free because you're letting me cut your hair in front of the camera, and then I'm putting it on YouTube. So therefore, yeah, I'm cutting it for free, but I'm getting paid from the people that I'm teaching, that are learning from this video. So that's the thing that's happening now in the barber community. They're doing like their own academies, like their own. And I was talking to my friend about this. I was like, what if we just create a 5-day course and we start not only teaching them about hair, but we start like day 1 and 2. We're just gonna get our minds right. So we're gonna go run. We're gonna go on a hike. We're gonna fast for a day. Just juice to get our minds clear. So things like that. So I'm creating like my 5-day course because and it's gonna be deep in the barbering because I could do it with barbering, but it has so many life teachings that it's like, bro, we could do a chess class. We could
Yeah.
do a rock climbing class. Like, yeah, because essentially what we're paying for is the energy. So if I find you cool and you do a course, I'm gonna take your course even if I don't know about anything that you're doing. But it's just
Right.
because your energy. So yeah,
That's that's definitely a different approach than people going to school, right? They're going to school taking classes, but the classes don't shape your mind. They don't shape your
yeah,
mind spiritually, or even your physical, your physical body. And like I think what more people need is stuff like you're talking about. Is you got to get your mind right before you start diving into the weeds
yeah,
of the specific skills of that. Um, thing that you're trying to learn more about. Uh, all right, yeah. So that's um, a lot of good content and everything,
yeah.
and definitely a lot that I've learned. Just
hmm
in this alone. In terms of like kind of like wrapping up, is there anything that you would maybe like tell someone else that's trying to redefine their path or their career, because you've done it a couple times,
Mm-hmm.
and you've also like even mentioned about uh, doing solo missions to kind of,
Yeah.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
uh, shape your reshape what you're trying to do.
Mm-hmm. So my approach on this would be, it's kind of like that one quote that says, "We're all gonna get out of this. We're not gonna get out of this alive. So you might as well make your life the best." You know. So I truly believe everybody, every human is different, and they all have. This might just be me in my mind, but they all have. They're a book, and their book is a story they have to tell. But the only way they can tell that story is if they are the author, the main character, and the hero, that story. And they're everything in that book. So why not make it, you can edit that story. You could sit down, write about the life you want to live, visualize it, and it will come to life. But there's not a lot enough people doing that right now. And if we do that, if we're like, wow, like my life is an important life. Everybody's life is important, but like if I focus on my life, I might be able to live a life worthy of passing on, when my time here is done. So if we take that approach with life, knowing that we're gonna die one day, then you're gonna be alive every day. Because if you're like, wow, it's kind of like, if you know you're gonna die, then you're gonna live, because you know that one day. And we just spoke about this because we had recent deaths. Like you had like family
Yeah,
member,
grandpa.
and then I had a family member in Puerto Rico a couple years ago. So we both had like the similar death, but and then we spoke about how when somebody dies and the family's there in the funeral, things like that, there's like a voice telling you like this is gonna happen to everybody, and then it kind of like motivates you when somebody close dies, because it's like, wow, now I'm gonna go harder. So that voice is what you have to feed throughout life, and then you're gonna make so much impacts that when you die, you're gonna die happy. So, you're not even gonna care how you die. You're just gonna be like, wow, like I'm doing what I'm supposed to. Like I broke free from the matrix, and now I'm not talking to humans, but I'm talking soul to soul. Like, and it's like, and then you can talk to anybody, because then if you're going through a problem, then I can help you out. If I'm going through a problem, you can help me out because you're the author of your story, and you can help others edit their story. And if their story's going down, you can let them know, hey man, it's gonna be better in the long run, because that's just how life is. But who you are when the tough problems come, that tells you everything about who you are. So if you're around enough individuals that are just ready for growth and just ready to attack life, then it's gonna be a beautiful life. So that's my advice to others. Just be aware that you're gonna leave the game one day. So just be the best player you could be, and test yourself all the time so you can be as strong as you could be. Give yourself the best chance.
Yeah, I actually like that a lot. Um, you have the opportunity to change your story. You're the author. You're the hero.
Mhm.
Um, and I think it's important, like you said, to surround yourself by those like-minded people.
Mhm.
Otherwise, if you're not surrounded by those people, you're not gonna have uh, the you're not as likely to change, or you're not as
Mhm.
likely to want to grow and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
yeah, I appreciate you
Yo,
coming
thank
on
you, bro.
again.
Man.
This was awesome,
Yes, sir.
and I'm hopefully some people getting into being a barber
Mm-hmm.
check out a couple things,
Yeah.
learn a couple things. I know you're always trying to create some value for people, so
Mm.
that's exactly why I wanted to have you on the show and um, you know explore another audience and
Mm.
I'll go from there. So,
Awesome,
all
bro.
right,
Thank you for
everybody,
having me.
appreciate you guys for tuning in.